Welcome back to Creed's Collision. In this clip, the Muslim man seemed to be so different from other Muslims and their Islamic views. He's the first to make Godlogic submit to his claims. This is a huge thing to see. Please don't forget to like the video, drop your comment, and subscribe to Creed's Collision. Let's watch.
Or the challenge is prove any prophet was a Muslim. So what proof do you have?
Well, okay, I can prove to you that any prophet was a Muslim, but your religion, your God, have nothing to do with our religion or our God.
You know what? That's probably the most true thing I've heard from your side, is that none of the prophets and my God and none of my prophets have anything to do with your religion. You're absolutely right.
Now, our prophets, since Abraham, until Muhammad, they were Muslims.
Oh, no, you got the wrong prophets, bro. Those are my prophets. Abraham's my prophet.
No, bro, listen. Jesus have nothing to do with Isa, the prophet of God.
I agree. Again, you are speaking truth, bro.
Yeah, I'm speaking to you true. Jesus was born in Nazareth. That's why they called him Nazareth. A small town.
He wasn't born in Nazareth, but close enough.
And he was the second guy to claim that he is a Messiah.
That's nice.
Okay, but the problem that the Muslim believe that Jesus, he is Isa. That's not.
Say that again.
The Muslim they're confused. They think Jesus is Isa, the son of Miriam.
And is that true?
No, it's not true.
By the way,
Excuse me?
Are you a Muslim?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I didn't pay you, right?
No, you didn't pay me, but I'm telling you something. Your God have nothing to do with our God, because our God is the true God.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
How you know that?
True.
How you know that?
Because God told us in the Quran 25 times the difference between Jesus and Isa. That's the truth.
The Muslim speaker accidentally makes a point many Christians and Muslims overlook. If Jesus of the New Testament and Isa of the Quran are truly the same person, then their biographies should align. Yet there are major differences. The New Testament presents Jesus as crucified, risen from the dead, and identified as the Son of God. The Quran denies the crucifixion and presents Isa as a prophet who was not killed. These aren't minor disagreements. They are central identity claims. So when the Muslim says your Jesus has nothing to do with our Isa, he's recognizing a real theological tension. Two figures with the same name cannot simultaneously have contradictory histories and identities. The question then becomes, which account reflects the historical Jesus?
Nice.
And Abraham and Moses and all of them, I'm going to ask a Muslim and you a very logical question. If Jesus was a Muslim, why God in the Quran call you Nazareth?
That's a good question. Like he calls us Nasara, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why he call you Nasara?
That's a good point. That is a good point. Should I bring up a Muslim to see if they can even answer that? Because I like what you're saying.
No, that's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah.
That's all we say here. That's the truth.
If Jesus was Isa, then God should call you a Muslim.
You know what? Let's go ahead and bring up bruh. You are under something. So there's no way Jesus was a Muslim, because why in the world does he call us Nasara? That's a good point. Let me bring up a Muslim and see if they can even answer your question, because I'm not against you, man. I'm with you. Let's see. All right. So this Muslim rejected my request to bring him up. So but he's been requesting. Let's see. I don't know if I got these Muslims that want to come up here, man. I think he scared them away. Why are you scaring my guests, Musharraf?
I'm not scaring the guests. I'm telling the truth.
Man, you stirring up trouble over here, man.
No, they made them believe that Jesus is Isa. Mm-hmm. It's not. When someone tell you 25 times a name, a compound with the name of his mother 25 times, he tried to tell you something or not.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, so let me.
The Muslim speaker raises an interesting argument. In the Quran, Christians are repeatedly called Nasara, Nazarenes, rather than Muslims. If Jesus and his followers were simply Muslims in the same sense Muslims use the term today, why does the Quran consistently distinguish Christians from Muslims instead of identifying them as part of the Muslim community? The speaker's point is that the Quran itself recognizes a separate identity connected to Jesus. He also argues that repeatedly referring to Isa as Isa, son of Maryam, emphasizes a distinct Quranic figure whose description differs significantly from the Jesus of the New Testament. Whether one agrees with that conclusion or not, he's highlighting a genuine theological question. If two accounts describe the same person, why do they present such different identities, missions, and histories?
Let me ask you a few questions then, okay? Because you're bringing a very unique perspective, all right? So Jesus is a particular person. He's completely separated from Islam, has nothing to do with Islam.
Yes.
That we agree on. So I want to ask you about this Isa character, okay?
Yeah.
Where was Isa born?
We don't know where.
Okay.
It doesn't mention where.
Okay. Did he have a father?
No, he have no father.
No father? Okay. All right. Sounds good. No father. Who was his mother?
Miriam.
Miriam was his mother. Okay. So it's a coincidence that Isa and Jesus, both of their moms' name is Mary.
No, the mother of Jesus, her name is not Miriam.
What was her name?
Mariva.
It's who?
Mariva.
Mariva, not Miriam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not Miriam.
Okay, gotcha. Not Miriam, but Mariva. All right, gotcha. Okay. Where, I guess he wasn't, you don't know where he was born, Isa. You don't know where he was born.
It doesn't mention where he was born, yeah.
Does it mention where he grew up, like where he was from?
No, it does not.
Okay, so we don't know where he was from. We don't know where he was born. What about, it's the hadith, the Quran says that he has disciples, right? He had disciples, right?
Yes, of course, he's a prophet. You have people believe in him.
Okay. Who does the Quran tell us who his disciples were?
Yeah, the Muslims.
No, but does it tell us who they were?
No, it didn't tell us who they were. He said Muslims.
Okay, so they claim to be Muslims, but we don't know who they were exactly. Okay.
No.
One thing I respect about this Muslim speaker is his honesty. Instead of trying to force answers that aren't in the Quran, he simply admitted what the text does and does not say. When asked where Isa was born, where he grew up, and who his disciples were, he acknowledged that the Quran doesn't provide those details. That's a fair and truthful answer. What's interesting is that this highlights a major contrast. The New Testament gives extensive historical details about Jesus, his birthplace, hometown, family, disciples, ministry, death, and resurrection, while the Quran provides a much shorter account of Isa centuries later. Whether one agrees with Christianity or Islam, intellectual honesty requires admitting what the sources actually say. And in this exchange, the Muslim man was willing to do exactly that, rather than invent information not found in his scripture.
Islam the Quran, you know that Islam doesn't mention names.
It actually does mention some names.
No, it does not. I'll tell you one thing. When you said Abraham, that's a story. It's not a name.
Oh, Abraham is not the name of a person?
No, it's a story. Abraham, which means in Arabic, Abraham, which means he abandoned his family and he went without destination. When he told us about Noah in Arabic is someone who cried his people for almost 950 years.
So what about Isaac? Is that a name of a person or is that a story too?
Yeah, that's not a name, that's a story.
So Isaac is not a name, Abraham is not a name, these are just stories.
This is a story. The only name in the Quran is only Miriam because her mother called her Miriam. Okay. And Yahya because that's what God said to Zechariah. That's it.
Okay. What about Ishmael? Is Ishmael a name of a person or is that a story?
No, it's a story. Ishmael means that he listened to God and went. And you listen to God. You heard God. Ishaq is the start of everything, start of the truth.
Mm-hmm. So these aren't real people that actually existed. These are just stories on how the truth.
No, there are people who existed, but God didn't tell us their name, but they tell us their story.
I got you. So when the Quran calls the people of Israel, calls them the children of Israel, right?
Yeah.
So, meaning they descend from somebody named Israel, right?
Yeah, not Israelis mean that someone walked to God.
Right, but they're the children of Israel. So,
yes, they are the children of Israel, yeah.
So who's their father?
The father of who?
Of Israel. I mean,
The father of Israel is Adam.
the father of the people of the father of the people.
Adam. The father of Israel is Adam, not what they said is Jacob. Jacob have nothing to do with Israel, with Adam, with Israel.
Got you. So to be clear,
Everyone believe that Jacob is Israel. No,
right. I didn't say that. I'm talking about Israel specifically.
Israel is Adam.
So you got the children of Israel, right? The children. Yeah. Who is their father?
The father of the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Israel is the son of Adam who killed his brother.
Adam killed his brother?
No, the son of Adam.
Oh, the son of Adam. Okay, got you. So Israel is the son of the son of Adam who unalived his brother.
Yeah.
Got it. And so you got the son of Adam who unalived his brother. He had a son named Israel, right?
No, the son of Adam named Israel.
The son of Adam, his name is Israel?
Yeah, because he did something bad and he went to God. He walked to God asking for forgiveness.
I see.
I wouldn't characterize the Muslim man's claims as true in a factual sense because many of the specific assertions he made are not standard Islamic teachings. For example, mainstream Islam identifies Israel with the prophet Jacob, and Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and Noah are generally understood as actual personal names, not merely symbolic stories. What made this conversation fascinating wasn't necessarily whether every historical claim was correct, but the confidence and originality of the Muslim speaker's perspective. Rather than repeating common talking points, he presented a unique way of understanding Quranic figures, focusing on the meanings behind the names and the lessons of the stories. That approach seemed to catch Godlogic off guard. Instead of immediately arguing, he relaxed and allowed the man to explain his reasoning step by step. The exchange became less of a debate and more of an exploration of ideas. Even when his interpretations differed from both traditional Christian and mainstream Islamic views, he answered questions directly and without hesitation. That willingness to engage openly created a conversation that was educational, thought-provoking, and surprisingly entertaining for everyone listening.
That's the story of the God.
You're giving us more knowledge than I could have hoped for on this panel, man. You are.
That's why I said the question is, prove any prophet was not a Muslim.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I think you cooked me, man. I don't got nothing to say. You got me. I have no argument against what you're saying. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next person because I'm gonna run away. Okay. I'm running.
Okay, brother. But thank you for your time, brother.
Man, thank you. Thank you for teaching us. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you do? I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I did everything I could to just ask. I mean, now I was up here learning. I was getting taught. I'm up here getting taught. I have to restart my career. It's tough. What can I do? How can I redeem myself when a person like that just intellectually dominates me? What can I do, man? It finally happened, y'all. It finally happened. I got debunked. I was outclassed.
What a remarkable ending to this conversation. Izan Godlogic jokingly admitted that he had been cooked and even said he might have to restart his career after listening to the Muslim caller. But if we're being fair, this wasn't really a case of one side completely defeating the other. Rather, it showed something that is becoming increasingly rare in online debates: sincerity. The Muslim man answered questions without hesitation and presented his understanding openly, even when his views differed from what many Muslims themselves might say. That honesty created a moment where Godlogic stopped arguing and simply listened. Whether one agrees with the caller's conclusions or not, the exchange became more about learning how another person thinks than scoring debate points. In that sense, Godlogic's humorous surrender was less an admission of intellectual defeat and more an acknowledgement that the conversation had taken an unexpected and interesting turn. Sometimes the most memorable moments in a debate are not when someone wins, but when both sides are willing to hear each other out. If you enjoyed this analysis, make sure to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Creed's Collision for more discussions on Christianity, Islam, and comparative theology. And if you are a Muslim who is exploring the claims of Jesus and would like to learn more about the Christian faith, feel free to leave a comment expressing your interest. We'd be glad to continue the conversation and discuss the teachings of Jesus with you. And if you want to give your to Jesus, you're welcome. Thank you.